everyone. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. I missed you last week. It was Thanksgiving and it was a time to celebrate and rest, and I hope that you took that opportunity as well. I wanted to talk with you this week about the upcoming year of 2023 and look at it through the lens of numerology to get an idea of what the flavor of 2023 looks like. To find out in numerology what the universal numerology number for 2023 is, we simply add all the numbers inside 2023 together. So 2 plus 0 and 2 plus 3, and we get 7. So it's going to be a universal 7 year. Now, the way this works is vibrations are sort of like spheres of influence, one on top of the other. In fact, if you kind of visualize a jawbreaker and you cracked that in half, and you could see yourself in the center, your personal energy vibration, then the rings that form around it are other vibrational energies. For example, in numerology, you have your personal day vibration, a personal month vibration, a personal year vibration, and then this universal year vibration working together. And so they all have an influence on the center, which is you. But this is a general influence, whereas the rings closest to you, for example, your personal year, is much more important of a vibration for you to pay attention to than the general year. But the general year sort of adds flavor or color to your own personal year. And that's why I like to look, because if we're paying attention, we can get into alignment with the energy and experience more ease and grace as we move forward. So let's talk about the year 2023. So as I said earlier, 2023 is a universal 7 number, and 7 actually happens to be my life path number. And if you want to know your life path number, you add up all the digits of your birthday, or the day you were born. So the month, day, and year, add them together, and you will end up with a single digit at the end, and that will be your life path number. So if you are also a 7, you're going to be feeling this year particularly strongly. And if you find out what your personal year vibration is, and it also ends up being a 7, which in 2023, mine actually ends up being a 7. Dun, dun, dun. It's going to be a very 7 year for me over here. But if you're in that same boat too, then we really want to pay attention to the themes this year, because it's going to be kind of what our life is calling to us about the whole time. But nevertheless, even if you're not a 7 or having a 7 or anywhere near 7, you still want to pay attention to the themes. So the big key word for a 7 year is rest. That's good, right? Like, it's going to ask you to be more meditative, more restful, more reflective, and even taking breaks and vacations fall under this vibration. You want to think about how on the 7th day he rested, right? Like that, it very much is in alignment. Also, themes to do with 7 are the body, and health will be very important. So we have the 7 main chakras in the center of the body. That also resonates with the numerology of 7. In fact, in numerology, 7 is often referred to as the temple number, representing the temple that is your body. So taking good care of the body, paying attention, balancing the body, and again, meditation is such a key to this. Wisdom is also a word that vibrates with the number 7, as 7 is often referred to as a wisdom seeker. So your desire to seek inner wisdom is even stronger under a 7 vibration. 7 is also considered an earth plane number. In fact, it is the most spiritual of the earth plane numbers, which are 1, 4, and 7. 7 being the most spiritual. In fact, you can actually see it in the glyph that represents the 7. You see the line above and then the diagonal line coming down, and that literally can represent heaven coming down to earth. So during a 7 cycle, we become more interested in seeking out spiritual answers or analyzing what we believe. it becomes even stronger under the vibration of a 7. Even though this sounds very mystical for a number, which it is, 7 also has a very strong analytical streak. So it talks about the balance of the hemispheres of the brain. In tarot, the card that vibrates to a number 7 is the 7th card, and it is the Chariot. And this actually does represent the two hemispheres of the brain, the left and the right hemisphere. And this shows a type of natural control over this. So when we are in control, we have balanced the two hemispheres and they are working together. So this means that we're not just going into this super heightened woo-woo space. We're not going super Neptunian where we're like just in the right hemisphere or just in sort of a non-structured, free-form thinking type of experience. We're actually bringing in critical thinking and connecting it to our spiritual or higher vision and bringing them together. We're asking them to work together. We're using that earthbound energy of the left hemisphere of the brain and anchoring it to the heaven ascending right hemisphere of the brain. So it is a time of deep thought, contemplation, analyzation, and balancing. So one of the things you can know during this period is that mental discipline is going to be something that you might desire to exercise or feel called to exercise in your life. That contemplation being a key word, sitting and thinking about what your belief system is, what you've created, how you're taking care of yourself, how are you balancing your energy. These are really big themes in the year 2023, and even more so if your personal year vibrates at a 7 or your life path number vibrates at 7. It's like going to be all you are focused on. And because of all this contemplation period, now 7 is one of the associations with the number 7 is the word sacrifice, which no one really loves that word. I don't love hearing this word, but it's about what you're letting go to receive more. So when you think about sacrifice, you're thinking about what do I need to let go of to receive what I want? This is not an optimal period for focusing on business or financial endeavors. 7 doesn't resonate with finance. When we hit 2024, when we're in a universal 8 year, then we'll talk about money and finance. Right now is really about getting down to the core of what you believe, what drives you, what motivates you, how to balance yourself. 7, when we focus on more earthbound things like money or business or growth in that way, it actually just sort of ends up being the thing that gets sacrificed. So if you're trying to grow something, if you're trying to create that, what you want to do instead is perhaps sacrifice the amount of energy that you put into trying to grow or make money at something and use some of that energy towards that personal inner understanding. And then it doesn't have to be taken out of the physical world, if that makes sense. So we don't always have to physically sacrifice, but we are going to have to choose what we focus on and let some things kind of naturally hang out. So the focus really is on you and balancing yourself in this cycle. So because 7 is a physical number, the physical body, remember the temple number and the 7 chakras, it's actually very important. But we are asked to exercise balance in using the body. So we want to be cautious of being overly physically assertive, as it will create minor problems, but you're going to have very active energetic centers at this time as you're turning your gaze inward and balancing your energy. So you're going to feel a desire to be active within the body. We're again just being asked to pace ourselves and maybe not see how far we can push, because it's not a push cycle, it's a rest cycle. And again, this is not a period of actualization. Again, that's more 2024 is where we start to really physically actualize and manifest and move into the money period. This is a time where spending time in nature, spending time with yourself, meditating, resting, reading, taking in information, considering your own goals, your own life path, is the most aligned way forward. So again, if you find yourself in a personal year cycle, let's say you are in a number 8, well, then it's slightly different. It still requires you to give over that energy to contemplation and meditation and focus within yourself. So do that first and then move into the actualizing process. And that's a great way to use your personal energy vibration with a universal energy vibration. Start with the universal. What is it asking of me? It's asking me to rest and sit with it. And then if I have energy, or my personal energy is being called to take an action, then I move into that action. So now I want to talk a little bit more about the Chariot card from the tarot, because I feel like it helps us get a deeper understanding of how the number 7 energy works. So the theme of the Chariot is about being receptive to the will of Source, to a higher will working through you. The keyword of this tarot card is the word enclosure, right? So you see the being enclosed inside the Chariot. And it reminds us of the function of speech, which is the enclosure of energy through language. So every word we speak encloses an idea or a thought, which is why it's so important to pay attention to what we are speaking, because we start to speak those things into being. It's the first step into manifesting into being. We can also waste energy through speaking it. So that's why oftentimes we're asked when we are planning something or creating something to keep the mouth closed, because it keeps that energy inside the body to create it. As soon as we start talking about it, you'll notice what happens to you mentally. It starts to feel like you've done it, even though no action has been taken. So speech is tricky. It can help create, but it can also dissipate the energy of creation inside the body. So only when we have this understanding can we use words to our advantage. Now, you'll notice that the figure in the card is still and not moving, and he holds no reins to drive the two sphinxes, which again represent the two hemispheres of the brain. What this card shows is full control over the mind when we become quiet, still, and receptive, and we use the power of a higher force to work through us. It's almost like it becomes effortless to create movement in our lives when we do so. The charioteer in this card represents the soul, and the canopy of stars above his head represents the energy of the cosmos working over him, just like we're talking about with this vibrational energy of the universal year. And again, he uses no physical force to direct the sphinxes, but uses mental energy to do so instead. The basic message here is by learning to control our senses and give up or sacrifice our personal will for a higher will we gain total control over the mind and the body complex, allowing us to move forward with speed, energy, determination, and divine direction. I hope this information has been helpful to you. Please comment, like, and share if it has been. It really helps get my YouTube channel out there, and I can bring you more of this content. And of course, we're going to do some karma cards next. Now, for those who are new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how they work. I have 3 decks of cards: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team, what is the message you have for us this week? And I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and decide whether you need action related advice this week or outcome related. And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for November 30th through December 7th. There's that number 7 again. And let's look at the flavor of the reading. All right, we've got the dreamy planet of Neptune, very right brain, very nebulous and abstract, meditative, dreamy, and spiritual. In the sign of Leo, which is talking about our leadership qualities, our creativity, and our assertiveness in the second house ruled by Taurus. So the second house is talking about money, it's talking about your values, and it's talking about the work that you do. For those who are choosing action, your spiritual action is to inspire others with leadership patiently. I feel like that blends really nicely into what we were talking about with 2023. Inspire others with leadership patiently, right? So again, we're being asked to step into the role of creating an example of self-sovereignty and recognizing that, one, we first do that for ourselves because that's why we want to step into it. We're going to directly experience it. But two, it's going to inspire others to do the same. And we have to let go of, I got a kitty climbing my leg. We have to let go of wanting an outcome or wanting people to get it or asking people to follow suit. So again, we're doing the work for ourselves, we're modeling it to other people, and we're letting go of needing them to fall in line with you quickly, right? They'll get it. They'll see it. Whether you think people see you or not, they see you. It's just like being on social media, right? Like a lot of people see you. They don't always react to you. They don't always respond to you, but they see you. And you do have an influence. See, he agrees. All right, mental action at this time. Be prepared to sacrifice the creativeness of what you want. Dang, is this not in alignment with what we were just talking about? Sacrifice being a keyword. 7 and Neptune probably resonate together very much so. All right, so again, what are you going to let go for what you want? So we've got sacrifice and what you want on the other side. The creativeness of, okay. I don't know how many people resonate with this or feel this at times, that you have to somehow figure out a new way forward. Like, unless you figure out a new way forward, it's not as authentic. Oh my goodness, we're getting kitty bombed right now. Oh my gosh. So a desire to find your own path forward, and it has to be authentic. No one can have done this path. We don't need to do that right now. That's a desire that we have to be authentic, and all we need to realize is that what makes it authentic, whether it's a well-worn path or not, is you. You're the secret sauce ingredient. So no matter if you're doing things that have been done before, what will make it new and authentic is you going on that journey. So don't worry about whether or not you are stepping into leadership in a new and exciting way, or you're following a well-worn path. That doesn't matter. And that's the part we're being asked to let go of to get what we want. So whether that's, I'm trying to think of like how an example of what this would look like. And I think like maybe spending a lot of time trying to come up with a meditative practice that feels really authentic and unique to yourself. That thing might have to get sacrificed, where you're like, I'm going to awaken at 7 a.m. and meditate for 20 minutes. Maybe it's what everybody does, but it's going to get me what I want, right? I hope that example sort of makes sense. Sometimes these messages are really esoteric and you have to really think about it. But that's maybe one type of example of what they're talking about here. Physical action at this time. Yielding is the only way to do what you want to and get what you need. So again, the action right now is to surrender, to yield to what's in front of you. For example, I'm getting constant messages about taking it slow and taking a rest. And I feel like my personal energy style, I feel like my personal energy style is more like, let's go, let's get it done. Let's see how hard we can go. And that is not, that's not the messages that the universe is sending me at this time. That is not the way forward for me. And so I have to let that need go. It's harder when it's a pattern you've been practicing for a long time. When you're in a set pattern of behavior and then you're getting messages from the universe to slow down or do something different, it can be very hard to let that go. And in fact, it can even feel like you're sacrificing something. Like maybe you're sacrificing the speed at which you get what you want. Yield to these messages right now, because if you're getting a consistent message from the universe and you're ignoring it or not listening, that message will not go away. It will come in harder. It will come in much harder. And do you really want to see how hard the universe is going to impress upon you the message it's trying to get to you? So practice that humility, surrender to the messages of the universe to do what you want to do and get what you need. Okay, now let's look at outcomes for Neptune in Leo in the second house of value and worth. The spiritual outcome at this time is the idealization of self-confidence to create your beliefs. All right, so by doing this work, by heeding the messages of the universe, by standing in your personal leadership, you will feel that self-confidence coming through. You will have an idea and a sense of what self-confidence looks like for you. And it's going to start to crystallize in you as beliefs. And beliefs are very powerful. They are the vehicle in which we create from. So whatever we believe about something, we work to make that true. So this is a good thing to work to make true, your own self-confidence. It's worth it. So the yielding, the slowing down, the stepping into leadership and being an inspiration, all of this yields some good things to believe in. Mental outcome at this time, confusion regarding taking a chance on what you value. This is the tricky part when we've got Neptunian energy involved. It's not clear-cut. Neptune really represents the dream state, and you know how weird dreams can be. There's a message in your dreams for sure, but it's not straightforward most of the time. And because of that, it's hard to get sometimes what that message is. You'll wake up and be like, what the heck was that about? That's very Neptunian energy. So it's letting us know that taking a chance on our values right now isn't going to feel straightforward. It's going to have that same component to it of sort of being led on a scenic path. Like, are you ever going to get to the thing you want? That's what it's going to feel like. As I follow my values, do I ever get to the thing I want? The answer is yes, but you're going to have to employ Neptune's favorite thing, which is faith. You're going to have to trust this process. Letting go or slowing down or trusting that the work you do does inspire. All of these things require faith in the process. And so faith is an energy I would connect to the heart, right? It's more of a gut instinct. It's not something that's happening as much on the mental plane, and yet that's kind of the area that's required. So we're going to have to take some of that heart-centered knowing and move it up into the mind and give the mind an example or give the mind inspiration on what that looks like. Because they're two different languages, heart language and mental language are very different, the mind's going to interpret that as what the hell is that? What am I supposed to do with that? And that's the confusion that we're going to have to grapple with right now. Physical outcome at this time, sacrifice resulting from the impressiveness of your resources. When I hear impressiveness of your resources, I immediately think of your higher self, source energy, like the most impressive source of resources, like the Chariot Tarot was talking about, using a higher will to come through you. So what's the sacrifice? What do you have to let go of to receive the higher will? You have to let go of your will. And I think it's terrifying for some people, especially if you have control issues. And, what human on this planet doesn't have control issues? I haven't met one yet. I think we all have them. So it feels like a sacrifice because we're like, wait, I know what I want and I know that I want to go that way. And if I let go of this and I say, okay, higher self, source energy, God, whatever, come through and show me the way. I let go of the reins and I give them to you. There's two terrifying thoughts that can happen. One, there's no reins now. Who's driving this thing? And two, what if I don't like where you're going to take me? Out of all the examples that I've seen on this planet of people who have managed to do this, not a single one of them has said, I don't like where this went. Not one of them has been like, I gave it over to a higher power and it took me down a sucky path. That's not what's happened. Most people who've had this experience, and I'll use Marianne Williamson as an example because I used to listen to her talk all the time. And she had talked about how she had a plan, right? Her human plan. And it was failing. It was falling apart. Things weren't working. She discovered A Course in Miracles. She put herself into that and she gave over to a higher power. And the path it took her down was so different from where she thought she was going. But ultimately, I mean, look at who she became, right? She became a well-known spiritual speaker and teacher and helped millions of people through that work. And so could she have seen that coming? No. She says that herself. From her human will, from her perspective, that wasn't the path and that wasn't the job. But because she stepped into it or allowed something to work through her, something greater than she could have imagined came through. Now, this doesn't mean that by allowing the will of a higher power to work through you that you're going to become some well-known famous person. That might not be part of the destiny path for you. And there will be, in the beginning, a sort of tower moment, if you will, where anything false on your path, anything that doesn't align to this higher will get destroyed to some degree. It'll be taken apart, taken away, dissolved in some sense. Even though that might sound scary to hear, that yes, parts of your life will have to dissolve in order for you to move on to the higher path. Just trust that this higher path is more fulfilling, more incredible than what you can visualize now. And even if you have an incredible vision for your life, what would a bigger vision look like? And that's something that would be great to contemplate, especially in the year of 2023. I'm sending you so much love and appreciation. I hope that this message was helpful for you and resonant. Again, leave me comments. Let me know if there's something else you'd like to hear about. Drop it in the comments so that I know what kind of information you're looking for right now. And until I see you next week, mwah.